It's mega. Look at that.
See me. Yeah. Oh.
Wow.
I guess I better start documenting some of this. So the bungee top is amazing. I'm incredibly impressed with its build quality. So I pulled up like a stretch carpet, very similar to what we used in the cab, and that was glued down to this. And then you've got this nice thin sheet of aluminium that goes all the way across. It's flexible and light. And the reason it's not a thick piece of aluminium is because it has support beams underneath, and it is designed to go onto a roof rack, and it is the roof rack which supports the load. So, and that's how they can keep the weight down as best they can. So I pulled the carpet up and I drilled out all of the rivets all the way along, because the support beams went a long ways, and I want some support beams going across for the conversion. So what I did was, I'll show you the beams here. These are the support beams from underneath. So you had two nice big T-slots, and they would have had M8 bolts coming out that would have gone into the roof rack, and you slot them in this way. And then the rest of the supports were these 20 by 20 aluminium square profiles. Two are on the roof of the TGB at the moment, because I'm trying to work out how flat the roof is. Two are there, and then I've cut one. So there were four of those and two of these. I'm going to now cut these, and they are going to go laterally on the tent, and I'm going to rivet them in. So I'm going to cut one to go across here where the holes already are, and then I can rivet them here, another beam there, and then potentially one more beam. Then my idea is to keep as much of this aluminium as possible for the part of the tent that doesn't have headroom, basically. So this is where, you know, our bedding would be, our mattresses. This would be on the solid part of it, and then this will be open. I might actually be able to cut the bottom of this today. Now, I'll see if my jigsaw can do it. The grinder, yeah, I'd rather use the jigsaw if I can. I think I'll get a nice clean finish. And these are the supports underneath here, and I've riveted them in. So what it looks like they've done is they've got a really nice curved angular profile, which sandwiches another curved profile on the inside, so through here. And as you'll see, I cut the carpet along this edge so I could keep as much of it as possible, so that this didn't look all manky on the side here from the glue residue. So I think I'll be able to do a nice job. So this will be cut second, because the TGV is a bit more going on here, I guess. So I was just seeing how flat the roof is. It's pretty good. This side's got a bit of a lump here, so it sticks up a little bit, but that'll be fine once it's bolted. I think the cut is going to happen roughly about here, this way, and roughly about here. So I actually didn't paint enough of the roof, so that was smooth. So I'm going to have a little bit more painting to do afterwards. I might just do it with a brush, just be cheeky with it. So cutting along there. The hardest part of this whole thing is the roof hatch. Now for some reason, Ange and I got our wires totally crossed, and we told ourselves when we were in Oz, the measurement for some reason for the bungee top came to like here. So that's why I spent all that time painting the hatch, putting all the insulation on, and now I realize I've actually got to cut pretty much straight through the middle. So I've got to basically cut right through here, which is frustrating, but it's the only way to do it. And there's this lip here. So what I'm hoping is that I can make a few cuts in this lip and actually just bend it over. And then I'm now thinking, so say there's a beam running through here. Sorry, I'm about to fall off. A beam running through here. Yeah, okay. The rest of that is tent. So aluminium floor, blah, blah, blah. The rest of this is open. I'm thinking a piece of acrylic that can act like a skylight, and I'll put a nice dark tint on it, similar to the window tint here. In fact, I might even have enough. And then if that is still too hot, I'll put another tint on it, because I don't want to be cooking Oakley's head when we're driving. But that'll get some light in here. And then I'm not sure what I'll do on that side. Maybe the same thing, I haven't decided yet. Or maybe a little hatch, which would be quite good, so we can let some more airflow in, potentially even when we're driving. I would like that as well. So I'll figure out what to do there. These are the reinforcement beams running across. They tie down into these little pillars which connect to the side of the truck. So I'm going to be cutting roughly, I haven't made the measurement quite yet, but roughly right through here, bam, all the way along. I'll be keeping this roll bar. This roll bar here is basically going to be the cut-off point for the solid part of the tent. So this will always be a ceiling. And then the rest will be open until at night time when we close it to sleep, which I'll figure out a bit later on. So the cuts go all the way through. There's going to be T-slot coming down out of the tent, and that is going to sit on top of these. And then I'm going to bolt right through, so I'll have nuts here that can just cinch up all the way along. I think there's 7 supports along. And then laterally across, we've got this beam here, which I'm going to keep. And then I'll probably put some sort of beam across here. So those are the ideas, and I've spent basically yesterday and half of today deciding on what product I use that'll bolt down to the truck, and I think I've decided what it is. I'll show you that when we pick it up. Hopefully we'll be picking up tomorrow. It's about an hour drive each way to grab this stuff, but I think that's going to make my life really easy. Mama.
Go!
Wow. You're strong.
Here goes the floor. Wow.
Goodbye, perfectly good floor. Oh, that was a mission to cut that out. Okay, time for a little update on the roof conversion. So this is looking great. So it's all cut out really nicely. It was already reinforced on the sides here with this square tube. So I'll put the same square tube on either end, and I can carpet up over this so you'll never see it. And then I've riveted it all down to make sure it's extra secure. So now got a giant floor space. Now I completely removed the aluminium flooring because it would have, long story short, it would have made 2 kind of different levels for the bed situation. So I decided to cut that out, and I'll probably use plywood for all 3 bed sections. That'll make life a lot easier. I'll probably carpet the plywood, and that'll work really nicely. So now we just got back from Helsingborg, which is about an hour's drive out of Malmo, and we picked up the T-slot. So in a nutshell, this is the frame for the bottom of the tent, which also reinforces the roof of the TGB. So the way I'm kind of calculating it in my head is that it's a one-piece design, and it saves me having to reinforce the roof and then reinforce the bottom of the tent, in which case it would not only require welding of alley, which I have never done before, but it would also lift the tent too high off the roof, and then it would look like a rooftop tent, not a roof conversion. Now, so to cut this down for you, so this is a 30 by 30 aluminium profile. M6 bolts slot in, and you can buy all kinds of fasteners. It's kind of quite popular in the machining kind of world, so you can make like machine tables for 3D printers, laser cutters, things like that. So on the actual outside frame of the tent, I've got a flat surface underneath as well. So by having that flat surface underneath, it creates a really good gluing surface for me. And then I just found my favorite product in Bauhaus, Sika 111. So The majority of our Unimog Bowser is glued together, the camper obviously is glued together with this stuff, so it is phenomenal, not very expensive. So that's also called stick and seal. So it's the CRAVAN, and I back this stuff so much. So this dries relatively quickly. It works exceptionally well if you can clamp it. So even if you use tape as a clamping force, works phenomenally. It's got really good initial grab, so it actually acts like a glue, and it also is a waterproof sealant as well. And it's easy to clean off, it's easy to work with. It's just a solid polymer product. I will be gluing the entire frame underneath the tent, and that is not going anywhere, because remember, there's no real torsional force going against this tent. The weight is pressing down, so that glue will be perfect, so much stronger than rivets or anything like that. And then I'll show you later on, once that's all in, hopefully I'll get that in today, I will bolt that into the roof. So there'll be bolts, glue, it'll be everything. It'll be rock bloody solid and sealed from the elements. The other stuff that comes with the T-set, or what we purchased as well, are these aluminium brackets which hold it together really nicely. So once that's glued in, it's one nice structure, and then I'm borrowing Bjorn's miter saw to do all the cuts on it. So I now need to measure really well, make the frame up, glue it up. I bought 6 clamps from Biltema, so that'll glue to the bottom of the bundu top, and then I have my measurement for cutting the roof. So there is a high possibility that I can start chopping the roof out tomorrow, which is very scary and exciting at the same time. Now, what else have I done? I've also added these brackets here. This is for the bundu awning, the giant 3.2 meter or 3.1 meter awning. And you are looking at the tent this way now. So that is the front of the car. So the awning is on the right side, so this side here. And that leaves the controls for me to lift and lower the tent on the top left, and that gives me the shortest run to our batteries and stuff like that. So that works really well. So this is the front of the tent here. All I'll really need to do to wire it all in is buy a couple of 50 amp connectors, Anderson style connectors. That's the high amperage one for the solar, so that'll plug in down here. And I just need to figure out a way to either drill a hole through the roof or drill a hole in here and run it back into the tent and down through the conversion. We'll see. That will come a little bit later on. Yeah, exciting stuff. I haven't been able to do too much work today because we've done chores and errands most of the day. I even bought myself, thanks to you guys, another hammer. I broke that claw hammer, by the way, so hopefully this one doesn't die. I mean, obviously it's built in, so it's dirt cheap. Not very good quality, but hopefully it'll last. Okay, so I'm going to start measuring, cutting. I'm very, very happy with how the 30-30 framing went on the tent. Not only is it square, but it feels super, super rigid. I'll show you a better cross section of this stuff here. So that is it there. So it's incredibly strong, really, really light. I love this stuff. Brought back memories of a pretty full-on build process quite some years ago in Bowser, working with this 30-30 again.
Alright, this is what it will roughly look like. Oh yeah, don't enter through the cabinets. Now a little bit further in. You're in the toilet right now. Is that you do?
So I'm really happy with the feel of this tent now when you pick it up from one end. So not only do you have the 30-30 aluminium T-slot, but then you've then got 2020 aluminium hollow tube, plus whatever all this aluminium is that sandwiches the unit together. So it is really, really strong. I've also got a support beam across here, and I'm going to add one more as well when it's on the roof of the truck. So this will not be moving at all. It won't be going anywhere. The glue held really well. And yeah, no qualms with it being glued at all. I'm very happy with that. So because that is all glued up in square, I now have my exact measurement for cutting the roof. And that is what I have started marking out this morning. I think I'll cut it with a jigsaw and I guess you could call it a sawzall or a recip saw. So I'll probably cut from the inside because it's going to be easier for me to work from the inside than the outside. And I'll rig up maybe a ladder or something to do some pieces on the outside. But I'm really hoping the jigsaw does it. I bought some blades yesterday, so yeah, hopefully I've got enough supplies for it. Yeah, I'm confident that this is going to work. And talking about weight, so because this is a custom Bundu top, we don't know exactly how heavy it is, and we don't really have a way of weighing it. Since I've removed the flooring, Bjorn and I carried it in here on each end, just holding it on each end. So it feels really light. At a guess, it felt like picking up at about 20 kilos. So let's say it's 40 to 50 kilos, I think max. I wouldn't have added much with that T-slot at all. It's not very heavy. And I've got a funny feeling all these support beams and this aluminium skinned roof, I almost think this is actually going to balance out. So the only weight that I will be adding to the roof will be the bed platform and all the bedding. So yeah, at first when I saw it, I was like, oh, it might be too heavy, blah, 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 but it's not. It's just surprisingly light.
And the time has come for the most exciting, but also most stressful part of the build, cutting the roof. So this morning we spent quite a bit of time with Chris, double checking, triple checking, doing 1,000 measurements just to make sure we got it right. So basically we need to get the right measurement from the aluminum T-slot frames from under the tent and match it to the roof. I think we got it right. I think like we went for it quite a few times, so I'm pretty confident with what we've done. But yeah, there's always that hesitation, like did we do that properly? Which I think we did. I need to be more confident. Chris just chopped a few more bracing on the roof already. But yeah, we're basically now ready to cut the roof. So here we are. Wish us luck.
Okay. You're going to need to be this end more than that end. You're better off facing me.
Facing you.
Yeah. think I've got it. So jump up. Oh yeah.
All the way down. So I don't have it anymore.
Let it go. Perfect.
Nice.
Okay. So, be very careful with your hands.
Yeah, I'm going to go to edge.
Chuck those gloves on there.
You got it?
Yeah. Yep. Actually, you know what? Let's just turn it and get it out of here.
Nice.
Ta-da! Cool.
Wow.
I've been waiting for this moment for a long time.
This is crazy. Wow. So much room.
So much room for activities.
I don't even know what to think.
Cool.
Cooking. Actually, not cooking.
Cooking.
So, how was the job?
It sucked. That was horrible. I don't know what was so bad about it. I think it was just the vibrations grabbing the blade was not real fun at all. It would have been way easier if I had the jigsaw on where I am now, chopping like this, but because I was underneath it, yeah, it was just not, it wasn't as enjoyable as I thought that would be, but it's done now. It's terrible. So I need to do a huge amount of cleaning up with the grinder and the jigsaw and stuff, but at least now I can stand, so I can actually eat all this.
That's going to make life easier.
Oh yeah, so, oh man.
So now you understand as well why we haven't properly started the interior fit out. It's not only obviously that was going to get so messy in here, but that gives us a good idea now what sort of standing height, what height of countertop we want. So yeah, that's I think yeah, now it's gonna make life a lot easier to do everything inside. But the hardest part is not done yet. Matching the bonder top on top of the truck is gonna be another hell of a job. But that's a story for another day. Yay! Do the step there. And step. One way to do it. 1 foot at a time?
Yeah! Great job.
Yeah! Hit the GoPro. Yeah, there we go. Boom! Action cam. Ooh. Get it, get the GoPro.
It's like the...
Yo,
Oh!
yeah. Good boy. You need some more apples. Mama's coming, Mama's coming. She's all over it. Yo! Oh, good hit!
Nice way to start the morning, going to the playground, which is really cool in Sweden. The public schools, they leave their playground open during the school holidays.
And this is a Montessori school, so it's got just an awesome playground.
It's
so
amazing. I've been coming here every day almost with Oaks, and often Chris joins us, and yeah, it's really nice family time here. Now back to doing some work and some more morning chores. What's on the cards for you today?
I'm going to clean up the cut in the roof so that we can carpet it hopefully this week. I have a little side quest going on, so I'm going to make a modular DIY roof rack for over the cab while we're doing this whole conversion process. So we bought 4 of these. I think they were from a Polish company, and they fit the TGB roof gutter absolutely perfectly, and they are so nice because they give me places that we can maybe even attach like a shovel and an axe on the side of the cab. It's yeah, very happy with how sturdy these feel. And from a different company, we bought this. So, this is some of the nicest T-cell I've seen actually. So it's black anodized, and this is 80 by 40. So 8 centimeters wide by 4 centimeters thick. So we did some measurements the other day, ordered that, and that actually came really quickly. We've also got a bunch of brackets with covers. So those are like angle brackets, and all the fasteners here as well. Now I've already put the first bar across, and it was so nice and satisfying to work with. Some of you will remember from the Unimog build, Ange and I made all of our own fasteners.
And we are back for day 2, little production line going on, Chris on the brackets, me on the bolts and nuts.
And that was to save cost, because doing as much as we did in Bowes, it would have been more than $1,000 extra at least just in fasteners. So I ended up making them with these like little mushroom head bolts and cutting just 1,000 little angle brackets out of steel angle, and these are much nicer. They're also lighter as well, so that's the bonus. So I'll show you what that bar looks like on the gutter. Very happy with it. Right here. So it clamps in 2 places widthways, and then also clamps down in terms of height as well. And then we've got the bar going across underneath. So a really good solution. So I'm looking forward to finishing that off. Now, what do we got going on here? So I've cleaned some of the edging all around the cut. And I've also, at the moment, just gluing through a bar, which I'll also use a few tech screws for. I'm not going to rivet from the top because I want a nice, even, flush surface for the tent. So that is currently gluing with the CRAvanRVCamping. I'll be able to take those clamps off pretty soon. And that'll give me a little bit of stability through this area here, which we have no... this was the roof hatch. I'm still thinking of a piece of acrylic there, tinted, so that we've got a little skylight. And once the tent is on, I can work out some sort of angle here to make up the difference and to solidify that position there. Today I also painted this like roll bar beam as well. I pulled that out, painted that because it was kind of manky and green, and it just sort of stood out. So now it blends in a little bit better into the camper. So yeah, a bit going on. We need to take one more measurement, Ange and I, which is lengthways, and then I'll be able to probably drill the holes today. Here is the roof rack completed, and I'm very happy with it. It is so sturdy. So that's that 40-40 and that 40x80. And then that's given me channels to be able to attach eye bolts, and then we can secure with ratchets anything we want stored up here. Nice and low profile, doesn't stand up too much. And that's also given me a groove on the very front for lighting. So I'm very happy with this. I wanted to show you just how easy it is to work with this T-slot. All you really need is an Allen key, and if you're using the fasteners, so I've got to make a note, not all the T-slots have the same groove, so different manufacturers have a slightly different groove. So that is something to bear in mind, especially if you're buying fasteners. So I actually bought the fasteners from the same company I bought the T-slots so that I know they would work. And this is an 8mm slot. So the distance between here and here is 8mm, which of course works really well for M8 fasteners. So I also bought a bunch of these roll-in, I guess you could say they're nuts with a sprung ball on the end. So the way they work is you just push them in that way and they will stay nicely. Pull that one out. Or you can actually roll them in. So that's really handy if you've already made your structure, like for instance the roof rack here, and I want to attach something, maybe an extra length of aluminium, or if I want to attach some eye bolts, which I will at some stage for lashing things down with. I don't want to pull the whole rack apart so that I have to slot things in. This is an example of that. That would have to be slotted in from one end only. It can't be rolled in. This one, you can just roll it in. So you just push it in, and then with my Allen key, I can just give it a little bit of a push, and then it's set into place. And then I can move that anywhere along the travel. So for instance, I can put my aluminium right angle brackets in, and then just fasten down that way. But what I'm going to do is buy some eye bolts that just M8 screw straight in. So it's very, very easy to use and to construct as long as you've got something good to cut it with. I really like using a miter saw with at least sort of 40 teeth to the blade. That seems to cut through this alley like butter. And then I use something like a multi-spray to act as a lubricant for the blade, and then the cuts are usually really nice. Now this one, you can see the blade wasn't as good. This is just the Mitre saw that I was borrowing, so it's created a little bit of like fraying, but from the outside you can't really notice it. So Mitre saw is the way to go. So yeah, I really do recommend building with this T-slot. It is a pretty decent initial expense, but for the ease of use for it and for how light and strong it is, I do think it's worth the extra money over something like wood or just your standard hollow square profile, which is just nowhere near as strong and will get a whole bunch of flex into your project, which we don't really want. So yeah, I do really rate this stuff. Black is always more expensive than the normal color as well, but really wanted black for the roof rack this time. And then you also do want to make some calculations as to how many fasteners you're going to need, because they do really add up in price quite quickly. So you want to try and maybe do a drawing of what you have in mind, and then how many angle brackets and therefore how many fasteners you'll need. So the reason I've got leftovers here is I didn't use one whole length of T-slot when I thought I would, but it was overkill once I actually built the rack. So I will use that black piece of anodized T-slot for something else. This is the third time I've tried to record this. Ange is at the gym and the baby monitor, we've got like an app on our phone, keeps going off. Oakley's asleep in the motorhome. I think it's as the seagulls come over, they trip it. It keeps interrupting me. The diesel that I want to be putting into... Whew, we're good. A really large amount of current. Install it now. Excuse me. Daddy duties come first. Anyway, so I have another little side quest going on, this one being on the electronic side of things. So in a nutshell, the diesel motor that we have to eventually go into the Volvo, that can only have 12 volt glow plugs, can't get 24 volt glow plugs for it. And glow plugs require a really high amount of amperage when they fire up. So this is where this bad boy here comes in. So we bought this second hand from eBay. It is a Cooper Busman 2100 series, and it is the 100 amp version, so their most powerful one. They are quite sophisticated, kind of, as far as I can tell, they're the best on the market, really. And they're very expensive, the price tag matches. And we got a pretty good deal on eBay on a second-hand one that was pulled out of a yacht, and it seems to be in really, really good condition. And there's not really any wear components on them, so that's why we figured that buying second-hand was a good idea for this. Now what this does is it equalizes the current coming out of our 24 volt bank. So say 100 amp is required for the glow plugs or any other 12 volt devices that are high amperage. This will basically preserve our two batteries in the 24 volt bank, and that ensures that the batteries will always remain at the same constant charge. So this is a very good solution for that. Unfortunately, it is heavier and larger than I thought it would be. Like it weighs a few kilos. So very simple, ground on this post here. The 24 volt bank goes to here, the positive of course, and then you've got your 12 volt loads coming off of here. And then it's basically set and forget. This will keep our 24 volt batteries nice and equal. And there are also a number added benefits to this Cooper Busman model, and that's, you know, why it is considered really, really good, or the top in its class. So I'm going to actually put that behind my seat, the driver's seat, and run the cabling from the batteries straight to it. So it's quite a short run. Firstly, on an app, I calculated the thickness, the gauge of cable that I would need, and then I had a company actually make those cables up for very cheap. So these are them here. That is going to come straight off the battery. So we've got the negative coming straight off, and that goes through the wall. That'll connect to the Cooper Busman, and the same with the positive will come off this one here. I may end up, if I have too much more to connect these batteries, I'll make some sort of a copper bus bar which should help quite a bit. I definitely already have a ground terminal or an earth terminal down there I could use also, but for now it can come off here quite nicely. And the way I've kind of gone a gauge above what the minimum requirements were, so this cabling should not heat up very much. But if you are doing your own wiring and you're new to it, especially your own 12 volt or 24 volt wiring, your DC wiring, definitely use an app to calculate what gauge you need. Don't guess it, because you'll often find that you miscalculate it, because you actually need to know not one length of cable, but you need to double that, because the voltage, the current must come back to the source as well. So usually you actually need to double the calculation that you've done, and that's where the gauge can increase quite a lot. Some of the negatives of going with too small of a cable, the main one is fire risk, because that cable will heat up so much that it can actually ignite and cause fires. And second of all, it'll throttle performance. So literally think of it almost like plumbing. You've almost got like a liquid coming down this line, and if it's too narrow, the pressure increases, therefore the heat, and also it restricts flow. So you don't want it. You want gauged cable that's thick enough, then it gets a bit more expensive. So I'm going to wire that up now while Ange is at the gym. Hopefully doesn't wake up. I just wanted to show you that, and it fits really nicely behind my seat. So good stuff. Now just quickly, I saw a comment or two on the last video about me having to drive like this. So I don't. What it actually is when I have the windscreen open, which I love being able to have open, the little arms that keep the windscreen open, basically this part of the windscreen here is right in my vision. So I need longer arms to lift that up a bit higher above my vision, and then it's absolutely fine. But when the windscreen is shut, I've got heaps of headroom. Because this is black now, it looks lower than it is, but no, I've got heaps of headroom. Even when I go over bumps and stuff, I don't touch my head. So yeah, it's more these that need to be longer. Volvo owners, can you get longer ones of those? Otherwise, maybe I could cut it and weld a bit in or something, I don't know. I'm now a registered forklift driver.
This is way out of my comfort zone, never done anything like this.